Happy Sunday. You know what we talking about today? How y'all feeling? Hey, Samantha. Money is energy, right? And I'm feeling this energy. I'm feeling this vibe. I'm definitely going to be feeling this conversation. I already know. And that's why I wore my alignment is the new hustle tee. Yep, you heard it from me. But yes, all right, let's get into this. Samantha. We're gonna turn it down. All right. Boom. Hey girl, how are you?
I am well. How about yourself?
I am doing good. Good, good, good. Happy Sunday to you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Beautiful bright face and hair, and I see the plants in the back. Glowing.
Thank you. I need
What was that?
I need that tea.
Oh, yes. Alignment is the new hustle.
Is it on your website?
Yes, absolutely. The Be Mindful shop. That's where you can get
I'll
it.
when we
What was that?
I said I'll be on that website when we finish this.
Awesome. Well, I first want to introduce, so it's Miss Marisha, beautiful people. Happy Sunday to you. You heard the jams in the back, so you already know what this conversation is all about. And obviously, we're in a crazy, crazy time right now. So I don't even feel like I need to talk about or introduce this subject, just because we're all feeling it to one degree or another. And for some of us, we've struggled financially, especially dealing with what we're going through this year. But some of us have actually found that 2020 has been a gold mine, right? Because there are definitely opportunities that lie within chaos. It's just a matter of getting your mind right and going for it, right? So I want to hop into this conversation because I think that, again, we already kind of know where we are, the unemployment rates, everything that's going on as it relates to, again, economics. So from a negative standpoint, or maybe the struggle standpoint. But I want to talk to Miss Samantha Banks, creator of Wife Mommy CEO, who's going to share how we can really pivot and create a legacy for ourselves. So let's dive into this conversation. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
I know you are. I know you are. Okay, you might have to be on lipstick duty too. This is one of the ones that sometimes wants to play games and surprise my teeth with with all the brightness too. So
Yeah.
help us sister out if that happens.
Okay. I'll let you know. It looks good so far.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I am Samantha Banks, the Wife Mommy CEO and the co-founder of Financial ID, where we talk about all money matters. I've been in the financial industry and in business about a decade now. I started at a tax software company where I was able to see the back end offices of what other tax offices were doing. And that's what got me into the financial industry. After working with them for a few years, I took the knowledge that I could, to go get certified and be a tax professional. And then I started my own company. And then from there, I made different partnerships, including one of them being my husband.
Yes.
It started with a partnership, and then we been building financial ID since then, and we've helped hundreds of people from living in their car to finally getting into an apartment or owning their own property. We've helped people buy land, buy property, buy investment properties. We've even helped businesses scale from making almost nothing to six figures to seeing their first million. And that's, and then, you know, by trade, we are accountants. So Financial ID is a boutique accounting firm based out of Atlanta, which I just read in an article that it is one of the, actually it's been number one in business for the last 7 years. So Atlanta is like the hub of business.
Yep.
So that's who I am, and that's what we've been doing for about the past 10 years. And we launched the Legacy Think Tank, which is a course that teaches what we've been doing for the past 7 years and helping people fund their businesses as well.
Yes, I love everything that you all are doing. I followed your journey for a little over, I think, a year or so now. We've been following each other, and so it's been awesome seeing the growth, even in just the short amount of time that I've been connected with you. But before we get into money matters or specific, you know, strategies or essential solutions for people to walk away with, I always like to start this conversation with a personal story journey, right? So really helping people to know that no matter where we are in life, no matter what, you know, circumstances that may arise, particularly those that are, you know, problematic or adversities that we didn't foresee, there are essential solutions that we can adopt, employ, and really navigate around those things. So I want to start with a story from you, talking about a time, it could be both personal and or professional, but just sharing an adversity that has happened in your life, but really what were the essential solutions that you felt were helpful in getting around that to the person that you are today?
One of the biggest ones that I share often that just sits in the back of my mind because of how nerve-wracking it was. It was a time where I almost got evicted. I was a single mom. So I was already in the financial industry. I was still working, but I was living beyond my means. I was working at a insurance company at the time. And I had just started my entrepreneurship journey. It was the beginning of tax season, and I was really terrified, you know, because I'm just like, okay, I'm working, but this isn't covering, because I wanted to live in Buckhead. Okay, I wanted to rise in Buckhead, you know, with my daughter. And then it was also, you know, for a sense of security as well, too, because like I got a door and I got security. Can't nobody just knock on my door. But also, you know, I wanted to be fancy. So here we are, come around January, you know, after the holidays, things are slow, you know, whatever. And I get an eviction notice on my door because I didn't pay my rent. I had some money, but it didn't cover my rent. So I had a decision to make at the time. I'm just like, okay, we're at the beginning of tax season. People are already hitting my line like, hey, I need my taxes done. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, let's schedule a time. But I didn't have my software to process those tax returns at that time. And I also had rent due. So I was just like, okay, I'm late. Should I buy my tax software or should I pay my rent? If I pay my rent, I still don't have, because I'm late, there's late fees. They had already sent it to the court. So you have to pay that other like $300 fee. So it's just already late, you know? So it's just like, now this is more money. Should I pay it? But then I'm gonna be broke and I'm still gonna be in the same situation because 3 weeks later, I gotta come up with like another, like $1,400 at the time. So I'm just like, if I buy the tax software and I make some money, by the time I get evicted, it's still not a credit report yet. So I could still, by the time the IRS makes that first fund, I can get me another place if I do get evicted. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to run my chances with that because this is going to make me more money. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I did, because by the time the IRS did do that first deposit, it was literally the day that I had already went to court. A couple weeks went by. I already went to court. They were like, you got 7 days to get out.
Wow.
And I literally went to my leasing office. I'm like, look, I got some money coming. I got proof I got the money coming. It's like, well, we have to call the marshals today. But nonetheless, I had that deposit that day. It ended up hitting my account, and I was able to do to pay my rent. So I did get evicted. But I'm a single mom at the time. I wasn't married, and I was terrified. But am I gonna still stay on the rat race?
Right.
Okay, wait for my next paycheck and wait for my next paycheck, where I could have something come up where I had to spend some of that money. It didn't cover my rent because, like I said, I was living beyond my means. And now that took me to the next level. That was the first step to keep taking me to where I am now, because I invested in my business, because I invested in something that I knew was going to make me more money.
Right.
So, because I had faith in my trade. I had faith in, what I know I was capable of doing. And I took a leap of faith instead of depending on this paycheck that I was getting, which clearly wasn't making ends meet. So I was able to build my clientele that year too, so that I wouldn't be in that same situation again as well.
Wow. Okay. So you basically were working, but still flipped this other opportunity into something that not only saved you having property, having your home, a roof over your head, but also ended up being an investment for the long term as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids, so I cannot imagine. I've been in that situation without kids, so I already know what that feeling would be if, ooh, wow, I cannot.
Girl, I was crying. That was the same year I met my husband, but I was literally on the floor crying, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I don't know what to do, but I made it happen.
You did. No, I love that. Okay, so fast forward to the now. Literally to the now, not necessarily what you do specifically, but where we are as a society, what's going on. As I mentioned, I like to make sure that people can walk away with tangible, practical things that they can implement right here, right now. They can't wait for the stimulus check. They can't wait for whoever's next in office or whatever to figure it out, right? People need practical things that they can do right here, right now. So let's switch gears a little bit. You shared a little bit about your own situation, how you overcame that, but now what can people do? Mindset strategies, but also specific financial, tools that they can implement to support them in the here and now, pivoting and leaving a legacy for themselves and their future family.
So right now, where we are, the biggest advice that I would give is continue to invest in your business, and not only invest in your business, it's assets. So one of the biggest things that I've been seeing, still having conversations with my client, my accounting client, and with prospects, is that everyone wants to hold tight to the little bit of money that they do have, right? And you're not investing into it, whether it's, putting more money inside of your business, like, running ads, for example, or making big purchases, or investing in something that you need, or something that because you don't know what you don't know. So, or even just investing in that education portion, because these are things that you can just implement immediately into your business. And even with the stimulus money, and even with the SBA money, one of the things that I see that entrepreneurs do, or entrepreneurs who's been doing this for a couple of years, is they think that they can come back to the account part and do that later. And that's actually one of the biggest mistakes, because you got folks actually watching you. So you got Uncle Sam, and taxes, as we can see, even in these times, are not going to go anywhere. So if you are making money, you need to account for it. I was on another live with Chef Aki, and someone on that live was like, well, I've been in business 14 years and I haven't done taxes. First of all, don't say that on social media.
Right. Oh my God.
even if you, and just because you've been doing it for 14 years and ain't nobody said nothing to you, if you hit a certain income, you know, PayPal, Cash App, Square, even those business merchant accounts, they're going to report it for you, especially once you peak that 10K. And what entrepreneurs don't realize is because their gross, not their gross, their net might be only 3K. That doesn't mean your bank account didn't touch 10K. The clients that one client specifically, that in the interview process, I always ask my clients, how much do you think you make every month, and how much do you think you're going to you know, what would it be your gross for the year? They're always off. You can't gauge those numbers. So she was like, I make about 3K a month. When I finally did her number, she averages $10,000 a month. She just has high expenses.
Got it.
So if you're making that kind of money and you're not keeping track of it, you know, you have. So one of the things is you need to know your numbers so that you can know how to invest, when to invest, or if that's even the right thing to do, and start acquiring assets, because there's just, we're already in like quarantine and social distancing. And even though things appear to be opening back up or things like that, you don't know when they're going to hit you with that mass shutdown again anyway. You know what I mean? So one of the biggest things I like to talk about is stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
So don't hold on to it. Start acquiring these things, whether it's land or equipment. Most of my clients are in the trucking industry. Get you more trucks, get you more, you know, tractors and things like that, depending on what field you're in, because those assets are always still going to hold value. And if you have to barter to do some things, you know, you're still going to have some kind of monetary, tangible, you know, money. You know, I mean, money doesn't necessarily have to be paper dollar greenbacks.
Correct. Correct.
Be, you know, a service that you can offer. So I think the biggest thing is stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and start putting these things into motion.
Yeah. So with that, you spoke to the entrepreneurs that are on the line. Let's talk about those people who they were working every day. They had their typical 9 to 5. They didn't have a side hustle. They didn't have another business. And then economy crash, right?
Yeah.
So they either got, you know, reduced hours, or they were completely laid off altogether. What about those people? What advice or essential solutions would you share for those people who are in that situation?
I'm glad you brought that up, because two of the last students that we had join the Legacy think tank was a doctor, pilot, and they both share the same interest of, I just don't want to hear you're fired, right? And you're talking about a pilot and a doctor.
Yeah.
They're looking for alternate solutions, you know? So, and you would think that, hey, I'm an essential worker, you know, they're going to need me. So instead of holding that sense of like entitlement, you know, they're more on some, I'm not exempt from, you know, what's going on, no matter how essential I can and, you know, can be. So, my biggest thing to those, especially like the nurses and the ones that are making about 70, 80K, some of them don't have children. If you're in that tax bracket, you're already giving the IRS about $16,000 in taxes. You might take it out of your paycheck, so you're not kind of paying attention to it. But regardless of what, you're still paying taxes, even if you're getting a refund, because a refund really only means that you overpaid in taxes. It's exactly that, a refund. So why not take that $16,000 that, if nothing happens with it anyway, invest into a business, into something else? Even if you're investing into your friend's business because you don't know what to do, you know, get your attorney and create some, you know, a strategic partnership, right? If you don't know what to do with it, or start something that you've been doing, you know, for the past, you know, as a hobby for the past couple years, because you're going to give that to the IRS regardless. Even have children and you're getting a tax credit and you're getting a refund of some sort, if nothing does happen, you can still take some of that money that you're giving to them throughout the year and put it back in your pocket. If nothing does work out, you're still going to get that money back because you gave it in taxes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're getting no ROI, well, the only ROI you're getting is you're not going to jail, right? So, but if you're not going to get an ROI on that, they're investing your money interest free. So you should invest your money and give it back because they allow you to do that. That's why, like the home-based business, you have over 475, tax deductions because they want to see the economy keep moving. And if you're not doing that, they're going to tax you on it because you didn't know what to do with it. So let us do it.
Right. Okay. So we heard from the entrepreneur standpoint, invest in your business. Whatever you know is going to help you either grow as the professional or scale the business. But for those of us who were, just working typical 9 to 5, and no longer have that as an option or reduced hours or, salary, whatever, then the strategy for them would be to start taking what they would pay in taxes and investing either in a business idea that they have or a friend or someone that they know who's already got something kind of going, essentially.
Yep. And then if you have reduced hours and have credit and you don't necessarily want to use your money, if you have a 680 or better, I can show you how to fund your business. So that's another option too, where you can take those funds. And don't be afraid if you are confident in your trade, even if you're borrowing $100,000, of course you got to pay it back. But if it's going to make you more money and you use someone else's money, did you really, and you have to pay it back, did you really have to pay it back? You know what I mean? Because you use it into your business and it made you more money.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's just like, who cares if you have to? Of course you have to. But don't let that be the reason you're afraid to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, I love that. So you mentioned something, I know that this wasn't necessarily your point, but you were mentioning people who are working and don't have kids and how they can strategize. But one of the things that I like about that particular comment is you brought up the whole kids concept. So the reason why this show came to be, or the series came to be, was because, as I shared with you offline, I feel like there are essential life skills that we were never taught, right? And so I wanted this to be the fundamentals. What are the basic things that we can kind of share in a 45-minute window for people to, again, hear, trust, and follow, right? Try it out, see how it works for you. And so bringing this concept of children into the conversation, I'm curious to know, how early would you start having these conversations with kids, the money talk?
Yeah, so I've been having the money talk with my oldest since she was like 8 or 9. Because at one of the tax offices that I had, she would make the little loom bracelets when they were popular, and as people came in, she was actually selling them. So I told her 10% of whatever you make automatically has to go into savings. Then you take this amount of money, and this is what you're going to use to reinvest into your business, and this amount for you. So I was actually having that talk, and she could have been 7 when I was working at that particular location, but that's actually when it started, is when she started making money, and she was like, oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. And I was like, okay, hold on, pause.
Can't follow in mama's footsteps. We just got out this situation.
We barely made it last month, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And
okay, no, I love this.
With my 4-year-old, we're starting to count money and identify money right now. So, we're learning the quarters and the nickels and the pennies, and you know.
Right.
So I start early so that they can have an idea, so no one ever falls back,
Yes.
the same situation I was in.
Yeah, no, that's why, I mean, obviously I know that you created the Wife Mommy CEO side of things as well, really to empower women in this space as well. So I wanted to kind of mention the kids piece just because I felt like there's, it's not too early to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
I think we're all in the situation, or a lot of us are in the situation that we're in now because we weren't adequately prepared and equipped with, again, different tools or approaches or just different solutions, right?
Right.
So okay, so we had one particular strategy for entrepreneurs, and we had another for just general, again, kind of your typical 9 to 5 worker. Is there anything else that you would share, things that people can implement, and also mindsets? I think that that's another huge thing that is at play right now. Everybody's living in this kind of fear, lack mode, right? Again, alignment is the new hustle, right? So money is energy. It is an attractive force, right? Like it's just exchange, right? As you mentioned a second ago with the whole bartering system,
Mm-hmm.
for example. But I'm curious to hear your perspective on this particular point, which is money is energy, right? And how we can maybe shift our focus, our framework, the way that we think about money, so that we're shifting our energy and then ultimately becoming more magnetic, if you will. I don't want to sound like one of those woo-woo people, but I'm curious to know your perspective on that.
So here's one of the things that being in this industry and acquiring property, talking to other ethnicities about investing and real estate and stuff like that. There's so what, for lack of better words, white people.
Yeah.
I know some of them that on clockwork, 7 years, they file bankruptcy. They do an automatic reset. They everything that they got the big house, they got the equipment and everything like that, and they file bankruptcy and consolidate that and they pay it back. Now, I'm not saying file bankruptcy because you have like 2 repos or some other just things that you didn't benefit from, but
Right.
you got the house, you got the car you want, you got the other properties, equipment or whatnot. But on clockwork, they do file bankruptcy every 7 years. They get everything they need. They chill for a little bit and they reset. So you have wealthy people that do this. Even Trump didn't filed bankruptcy on his businesses. That has nothing to do with his personal. You know what I mean? So if something doesn't work out, they're not afraid to do that and take a reset and pay back, chill for a little bit, and reinvest the money again. So we get so scared. It's a mindset, because back in the day during slavery times, when you did borrow something or borrow, grains and corn and things like that, someone was knocking on your door and they were looking for you. They were going to beat you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
carried on that mindset from generation to generation to basically, hey, we're scared, and if you ain't got it, don't borrow it.
Yeah.
But if you do have a solid business plan, so if you're getting into business, create a business plan. Don't just get into business, because it puts everything in alignment, right? And when you write things down, when you have a solid plan, you're 46% likely to actually complete it, right? And then let credit. Don't be scared to actually utilize the credit, other people's money, to do that. We get so afraid of it, and we should have those emergency funds. We shouldn't have to dig into those emergency funds unless you're already in position and have the cash flow to keep doing that, But if you don't be afraid to leverage the business credit, leverage your personal credit to reinvest. They're filing bankruptcy every year, so at least try. the whole mindset to me is at least trying. Once you even just start, out my story again, for example, the fact that I took a leap of faith and the fact that I said, I'm going to at least try. On Facebook the other day, I shared an old business card or flyer, and I was just like, ew, I was passing this ugly around to people, handing it to people. I put myself out there. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna at least try. I don't care what people have to say. I'm gonna try. And I took that leap of faith. And once you even just have the conversation, once you even just organize your finances and put this thing on paper, you really start opening doors.
Yeah.
Just by being, I had some phone calls that I didn't ever think that I was going to have, that just like even being able to call Carrie Hilson right now, like we've been for years. Like those doors started opening up, like just even being part of like the radio station here in Atlanta, all these doors started opening up. All these people started calling me, you know, and as a little girl at the time, because I feel like I came to Atlanta when I was 20 years old. So coming to Atlanta and just putting myself out there, I got phone calls that from people I was watching, you know, on TV or listening to on the radio. So just by, you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's listening to you, just even being able to be on your platform and your audience, like you started watching me somehow because I put myself out there. So the mindset is just to do it.
Ooh, I love that. And I'm gonna add on to that, do it with inspired action, right? Like, yes, there's going to be a little bit of fear in there because you don't know what's going to happen, what the outcome's going to be. But you do know what the outcome's going to be if you just sit there, right? Nothing, right? As my mama used to say all the time, nothing beats a failure but a try. But with inspired action, meaning, like you said, you wrote down the game plan, so you know what you're striving towards. And I always use the analogy of the GPS, right? So the GPS, there's 2 data points. We always trying to get to the end. But sometimes we forget, like, you got to turn on the location, right, to where you are, because it's not going to get you where you need to go in the easiest route that you need to get there until you put in where you are, right? So I think writing it down is absolutely critical, but then aligning, right? Making sure you got your mind right, making sure that the choices that you're making on a daily basis. So, this is note to self right here. Spending just frivolously on food or whatever, you know, that's not going to get you to that end destination, financial destination that you're looking for, right? So organizing, whether it's the business plan or whatever the strategy is, the end destination is, and then making choices that align to that, right? So,
and one of the biggest choices that, you know, you brought to mind is that spending frivolously. If you open up a business bank account as soon as you get in business, because that's another step that seems to be skipped too. A lot of people come to me and ask me, hey, can you help me get funding? Do you have a business bank account? No. Don't put the business funds for your business bank account, you know? So it actually, separating the two, personal from business, it does something to your mind. And when you're, you know, putting funds into the business and you're looking at your personal, it actually makes you spend strategically, like, oh no, this is for the business and this is for this. So then you actually know where the frivolous is going and where the intentional purchases are going to. So that's another step that actually, and one of my previous clients told me was, I showed her, she did have a business bank account. She was using, you know, merchant machines. For the most part, she was organized. She just didn't have any accounting. So when I actually had her set up her QuickBooks and start going through those, and she was just like, wow, the mindset of actually doing that makes me think twice before a purchase. So sometimes it's just implementing the stuff that you're supposed to do anyway in there, you know, that actually helps the mindset and keep you going towards, and even take you to another level.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So organization, um, taking the leap of faith, especially in times like this. Like, I think when this all first started, there was a meme circulating, and it was like, it had the logo of like Google, Facebook, like all these huge companies that we know and have clearly changed the way of the world today. And at the bottom, there was a little, totally paraphrasing, but it was like all of these companies were built in some economic recession at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of showing that, or I took away from it anyway, that literally, again, we could be in the midst of chaos, but there are opportunities, and I think that the slate has gotten wiped clean for all of us, as you kind of mentioned too a second ago, with those who file bankruptcy, they just clear it. And then they figure out, what do I want to create? What is life reimagined from here, right?
Yeah.
And they literally create the game plan, write it out, and then they make decisions that align towards that. So the same is true, it sounds like, in this situation as well.
Absolutely.
We've seen so many companies that have literally blossomed, and even in this year, I think it was Jay-Z, I don't know if you've seen the video, Jay-Z and Pharrell have a song called Entrepreneur. I want you to check it out after. The video is super cool because it just shows all these Black entrepreneurs. They're not the ones that are, hella televised or whatnot, but they are doing major things, and a lot of them started and or took off 2020.
Exactly. Because you have to think about where we are, and need and demand.
Yes,
that's basically it. Because even our family farm, and if you're from Atlanta, you probably have heard of it, but Atlanta Harvest,
yeah,
that farm has been in business for 10 to 15 years, right? And every year he was progressive, and which is my husband's elder. They've been progressive every year. But when COVID hit, and everybody's talking about immune system, and we have this organic farm, when I tell you, numbers went like, phew. I had to do sound effects, it's off. But guess what? Even though some years were better than others, and even if he didn't see a return last year, he kept going and going.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's going to be, as long as you're being consistent, there's going to be one day where it's just like the right person's going to see you, and it's just going to take off. But are you in position to receive those blessings? Are you still, well, I do it tomorrow. I bet you didn't think tomorrow was a whole global shutdown and a pandemic. So you can't keep waiting until tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. That brings me to the thing that I learned from this year, which was priorities are different from commitments. You can prioritize something, you can write it down on your little, notebook, your goal, your vision board, whatever, but committing to it is a whole nother piece of the puzzle. And so that is where the results come from, that consistent commitment, as you mentioned. So, okay, you gave us a lot right now. So figuring out what it is that you want, ultimately. We know that maybe right now is not ideal, but it is ideal in a sense of deciding, what do I want? This is your compass. Right here, right now, this moment is our compass.
You have to decide.
Absolutely. So deciding what it is that we want the end to be financially, right? Writing that down, making a plan the written part is making the actual plan to get there. And then the commitment piece, because that's all the prioritizing, right? The commitment piece is then actually taking the steps to execute. And then having someone like yourself as an accountability partner / content to help them actually make that happen. So,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're going to get a phone call about those numbers. Like, okay, what are we doing? What's the game plan? We need to get on this. Yep.
Okay.
And I recently started a mentorship, and I'm literally staying on those ladies. Okay, did you do this? Did you do that? You know, what's going on? What are we waiting for?
Hey, Cassandra, no problem. I appreciate you for being on. Well, obviously, this will be posted later, so you can watch the rest later. But okay, so what I would like to know from you, is kind of switching gears, this is our For the People segment, right? So I want people to know what are some resources that would be beneficial to get this all started.
Yeah,
Right?
so
Organization and or investing in assets or what have you, what would be some specific tools or resources that people can start to look into
mhm.
to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, so in the DIY world that we live in, we
Yeah.
did create a course called the Legacy Think Tank,
Mhm.
where we actually go through every step of one of the of what we discuss. So we start off with budgeting and your credit report and how to read it, the laws behind it, why these things are disputable. We go into business credit, how to build your business credit from scratch, and how to expedite the business credit process if your credit is already good. We talk
Okay.
about accounting and why it's important, and how to set up your accounting properly. Because for the people who I end up getting who already started their QuickBooks, I haven't met anyone who's done it correctly yet in the process, because there still are rules of accounting that go into place of bookkeeping, you know.
Got it.
So
Okay.
we teach you the differences and the number one mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs who decide to do their own books do, so that you can correct it and move forward. Um, and we teach you also if you want to help other people fund their business as well. And that's on the legacythinktank.com. It is a 4-week course, twice a week, where it's a crash course where we go through all of those things. And of course, we're going to be there hands on to help you execute. And for the ones who can't necessarily afford that course, I do have an ebook called Mommies Who Launch that's on wifemommyceo.com, and that's $19.99. Where you still get all the resources and links to all of these places. So once I tell you how this is important and it affects you and your business, I give you the resources of where to go to actually complete that step. I don't think of I don't consider any of the stuff that I give you as a purchase. It's an investment, because if you execute on anything that I give you, you actually get your money back
Yeah.
via funding, or your credit, or you just start seeing an increase in sales by implementing some of the strategies that we do talk about.
Right.
So and that's legacythinktank.com and wifemommyceo.com.
Okay. And so these are tools for people who already have a business in motion, or at least a vision of a business in motion, or are these things that are applicable again to those typical 9 to 5ers who
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, we're all in this boat together right now?
That's applicable to both. Like I said, the last two people that joined is a doctor and a
Mhm.
pilot.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are your 9 to 5ers who are going to work, who make the 6 figures, who don't know what's next, or what's next and what's going to happen in this market, because a lot of that stimulus money that was given to these big corporations, like the PPPs, there is a
Yeah.
stipulation that you have to keep those employees until October.
Yeah.
So once October comes around, some of those people that were still getting their paycheck will not have a paycheck anymore,
Right. Right.
because the company can't afford it.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of talk of another funding coming up. Like, they're trying to get it passed in Congress, because that runs out in October.
Yeah. Absolutely. So with that being said, one last little tip would you give people, what advice would you have for people if this next stimulus check does roll around, how do they use it?
Well, we'll teach you how to use it on our platform. But one thing, if you want to go through a different route, is staying where you are, or thinking even if your company does keep you, like I said, on the back end, they actually are only being funded for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So staying where you are is more risky than actually putting that money back out there and doing something with you, because what if it does work? Boom, you're popping, and so is your business, you know? So staying where you are is riskier than investing in yourself.
Okay. And so essentially, like you mentioned, the pilot and the doctor, they're, for now at least, safe, so to speak, but they're looking at building additional revenue streams. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that is important? Like, just from a mindset standpoint, like, why is that a critical thing for people to consider, especially now, instead of being in fear, like, let me wait and see what happens, let me go and take initiative and make something happen?
Yeah, they're being more proactive instead of reactive. So the reason that's so important is because especially if you built a life around that salary, and someone can actually say, hey, I got to let you go today, you can lose everything by just staying to wait to see what's going to happen. So you should be out there trying to figure out another source of revenue, right? And we're talking about a doctor and a pilot here. You know, what's a call center somewhere else? You know what I mean? So all of these things, we already seen big corporations are shutting down rapidly. Victoria's Secret filed bankruptcy. So you're talking about companies that's been here for years now are not being able to sustain. So
but that's because the people who have the disposable income at one point don't have it to give them. So it's showing how valuable we as individuals are. Literally, it's showing you your worth. Like, this moment in time is literally showing us our own worth.
Exactly. And the article that I read, that I was reading, which is why I lost track of time and got on here like 101, was an article that was quoting most of Brian Kemp, which is, you know, the governor here in Georgia. And he was saying that's really, Atlanta is still number one in business again. And it's the macro companies that are doing it. It's the small businesses that are still keeping us, you know, floating, which is probably why we're still open, you know? It's those small businesses. So that further shows you, like, you know, the worth. And then a lot of Black entrepreneurs and a lot of Black celebrities are looking to spend more money with their people. You know, we just aren't in position to receive it, you know, because we're not creating the business. We're not creating the demand, you know. So we need to just we need to just put ourselves out there. It's just, you know, bottom line is go for it, you know, and be more proactive instead of reactive. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Don't wait for your company to tell you you are fired. Start taking initiative. Write a book, something, you know.
And I mean, even that can parlay into a number of different revenue streams in and of itself. So yes, looking at, are there opportunities for me to create passive sources of income versus always having to be somewhere and exchange my time for the dollar, so to speak. So, awesome. No, I love this so much. Okay, so tell us one more time the 2 resources of yours where we can either be one-on-one with you or in a group with you, or if we, you know, need our own kind of self-paced format to learn these tips and tools, where are the places for everybody to go?
Yeah, so one of them is the wifemommyceo.com, and that's where you can find my ebook called Mommies Who Launch. It's not just for mothers, it's for any woman. It's geared towards the lady, though, to want to execute and start their business, or already starting their business, but don't understand how to be tax compliant and make sure that they're doing the right way so they can keep their money and Uncle Sam not take it all. And even though I have like bigger ticket items on the legacythinktank.com, because it's an ebook that I wrote, every time somebody purchased that ebook, I still do a happy dance because I don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it
Passive
already,
source of income, right?
right. It's a source of income. It's only $19.99, but I still do a happy dance because it's a source of income that at this point I don't have to work for. And I also have the Legacy Think Tank that provides one-on-one with us. In the process, if you just go to the legacythinktank.com and you watch the intro video and you click on the calendar afterwards to speak with us, that's absolutely free. So we can still have a conversation just by going through the motions of doing that. And also the link in my bio on Wife Mommy CEO, if you just get on my calendar, I'll speak to you for a few minutes for free and we can discuss, you know, whatever needs to be discussed about where you are and how we can help. So that's the legacythinktank.com and wifemommyceo.com.
Love it, love it. Any last words of wisdom, affirmation, or just a little something to leave the people with?
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes, I love
and
that
I'm
so
buying
much.
that shirt.
Yes, this is I have this one. I think last week I wore my essentials shirt. So it has all of what I call my essentials, right? The different things that, as long as I got this, I'm all good. And this one is definitely, I felt the need to wear this one for today because I needed your energy. I needed to be aligned to this conversation's energy too. So
blow some your way.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for the gems. We appreciate it. Obviously, as you know, as soon as we hang up, this is going live and on our page. And thank you to those of you. I know we didn't really even acknowledge you. My bad. I just get so into these conversations that I forget to wave hi and say hello to the people who drop in and out. But we see you. We love you. We thank you for joining and spending this day with us. And we hope you got something from it. And of course, we will see you next Sunday. What is it? October. Oh my God, we're already going to October. October 4th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. What is it? Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern. We will see you all next week. Thank you for joining me. Bye.